So I remember. And then Ryan, I think so, yeah, because we'll have 4 total in person, and then Violet may be calling it, I'm not sure. And then on the career paths, right, might be, he wanted me to call him, he might be. Seeing the advisor of. the superintendent. So the super. Lindsay just has to say.
The other thing I shared with the committee is
Get started. Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the spring meeting of the Indiana Charter School Board. I'm Beth Bray. I'm the chair of the board. Thank you to all my fellow board members who are here in person. Do we have anybody participating virtually? Doesn't look like it right now, but please chime in if you're there, and we'll be sure to count you present. So I'm going to go ahead and take attendance, and I have to do that via public roll call. So I will call your name and please just indicate that you are here. Okay, I'll start with Board Member Schultz.
present.
Board Member Green.
Present.
Board Member Donlin.
Present.
I am also present. Let's just check in. Board Member Hawkins. Okay, she isn't here yet. So the minutes from March 10th have been distributed. Does anybody have any questions about the minutes or any corrections? Okay, hearing none, I would take a motion to approve those minutes as presented.
So moved.
Okay, a second.
Support.
Okay, I'm going to do another verbal roll call vote on this. Board Member Schultz.
Approved.
Okay. Board Member Green.
Approved.
Board Member Donlin.
Approved.
I also approve. Okay, great. So we have a lot of items on the agenda today. We're going to be talking about quite a few schools and different measures. And so with no further ado, I am going to welcome Lindsay Omler up to come and get us started. Thanks so much.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and start today by talking about a charter application for a change in authorizer request that we received from the Career Academy Network of Public Schools. This is a K-12 network located in South Bend. They are career and technical ed focused with an emphasis on project-based learning. Currently, they are authorized by Education One, and they are in good standing with their authorizer. And they are seeking authorization from ICSB due to a decreased administrative fee and an established relationship that I already have with them based on my previous relationship at Education One. They're asking for 6 charters. 5 of those are existing schools, and 1 is for a new school for 15-year terms for the first 5, a 7-year term for that new school in following suit with what ICSB has done in the past. And finally, you'll see in the board packet that our recommendation is to approve their 6 charters.
Great. Okay. Why don't I open it up to the board? Anyone have questions for Lindsay or items you'd like to discuss in the presentation that the staff have put together? Okay. Well, at this time, we could welcome a representative from the network. If you'd like to come up, please join us and We'll keep the presentation, let's say, to 10 minutes or less. I know you're,
Stopwatch.
okay, perfect.
Yes,
We'll give you some grace. You're talking about 6 schools, but
I'm ready. Yes. Well, thank you for having me today. This is one of the best parts of my job is to be able to share about our schools and our teachers and our students. So thank you for having me. My name is Jeremy Lugbill, and I serve as the Chief Executive Officer for the Career Academy Network of Public Schools. First and foremost, I would like to thank Bridget and Bea for their just the process has been very smooth, and they've been extremely responsive and communicative, and it's been an expedited process for us. And so I just appreciate the organization, and I'm looking forward to hopefully one day, if this all works out, that I would love to have some of you up in South Bend to see our students and see our teachers, because there really is amazing work happening. So our story, 15 years ago, our founders were heavily involved in industry, long history with business partners. And our founders noticed a need for increased career and technical education. Employers were asking for, students that were coming out of high school that were prepared. If they were going to college, great. But if not, if they were going to do something, with Ivy Tech, some type of shorter post-secondary experience, whether that would be credentials of value, certifications. But the students that were not going to traditional 4-year schools, our founders saw a need for an increased talent pool. And so our founders started working with the local traditional public school in South Bend, and tried to get something going in that space around career and technical education, innovative practices, donated some resources. And for various reasons, that partnership just didn't work out. And so our board is extremely entrepreneurial. And so even though they didn't know anything about schools, they said, we're going to start a school. And it's going to be focused on getting kids, yes, maybe going to college, but definitely we're going to focus on those durable skills, the skills, communication, collaboration, critical thinking, perseverance, those executive functioning skills that students need, young people need to function in the workplace. And so that was the beginning of Career Academy. And the mission was to do just that, build high quality schools that are STEM, career connected, with hands-on project-based experiential learning strategies, with the goal to prepare students for those high demand, high wage jobs that is going to improve that social mobility for our community. So that was the beginning. And so that's what we started doing. We focused, and again, this was, 14, 13 years ago, kind of before the current rage of we need CTE, we need students ready with those durable skills. So I thank our founders just for that vision to see the need. But we've been doing this work for a long time. And so we have, STEM pathways that are, we started with, engineering, entrepreneurship, computer science, health science, a lot of those STEM disciplines in the high demand, high wage jobs. Since the career pathways have come into play, we've added business and finance. We've added some of those non-STEM fields. But that was the beginning, is to really create a robust CTE and career pathway system. Our school is IDOE STEM certified, and we're proud of that. We have a robotics team that 2 of the last 4 years have went to the world championships. That's a big piece. Our students are from bottom up. They're designing, they're going through the design process. They are welding the robot. They're, doing all the electrical. It truly is their robot, and they've been extremely successful over the last few years. In our schools, we are, again, entrepreneurship is important to us. So we have student-run businesses that students are doing all of the administrative, marketing, business plan, all of those things. Hopefully you saw in the packet that one pager. I listed off a bunch of the different things recently that has taken place. We had a really neat partnership with Notre Dame, their Turbo Lab, and NASA, where students were working with NASA engineers. And we actually fabricated a part for Notre Dame's Turbo Lab that we could fabricate quicker and cheaper than the industry that they were sending out. So those types of things, when students see those types of experiences, they are engaged, and it just means something. So I'm behind. We started that way, but since then we've added, we're an early college endorsed, SEL has endorsed us for early college. So we have students earning their associate's degrees, they're earning their Indiana College Core, all of those credentials of value. That's become a big part of who we are. So now we have 5 schools, 2 elementary schools, a middle school, and 2 high schools. We have grown over the last 10 years, 230% in our enrollment. We're serving about 1,700 students. We're a diverse group. About 40% of our students are African-American, 20% multiracial, 30% Caucasian, 10% Hispanic, Asian, and so on. We're predominantly an economically disadvantaged population. Our special ed rate is higher than the state average by a good amount. You know, our parents, once they hear about the experience that they're getting in our schools, that personalized, individualized attention, the word spreads pretty quickly. More recently, about 4 years ago, we were awarded the largest Explore, Engage, Experience grant, the 3E grant from the state. The goal of that grant was to expose students to careers at an earlier age. And so the department gave us $4.4 million to build maker spaces in all of our schools, which then that led to a lot of innovation. We created last year a maker space downtown. We call it the Future Lab. And this maker space has millions of dollars of all of that STEM equipment in it, where our students can come and use that equipment in this building. We partnered with the Boys and Girls Club, the Indiana Northern Corridor, IB Tech, a couple different industry partners where after school, students from other schools can come and be exposed to those same machines. And so I think the department just really believes, and we realized in COVID, it can't just be schools. Like, we need nonprofits, we need industry, we need post-secondary. Like, we all have to come together to be able to provide the best educational experiences for students. So in that building, we have the Future Lab. We started a brand new competency-based high school, the Porter School of Leaders, which is one of the charters in the application. You know, the Department of Ed competencies are a big part of the new high school diploma. And so we are really aligned and ready for our students to have those durable skills, as well as earn those credentials of value and earn their diploma. So in that building, the Future Lab, there's the Porter School of Leaders, and then the Boys and Girls Club has a teen center. So it's kind of, a secondary space before school, during school, after school, where students can come and have positive influence and work with caring adults. The other big piece that came from the 3E grant was we started a new elementary school, the Boys and Girls Club, Success Academy of Boys and Girls Club, which that building, it's a micro school, 128 students. And in that building, a couple of the innovations, the Boys and Girls Club, their staff come in the morning and they do before school care, and then they stay during the day and they work alongside our certified teachers in a co-teaching model. So there's that continuity, and then they stay after school. So students are known that, they're not only just the academics, but who they are as people. And we have a co-teaching model. We have extra adults in that classroom. We've experienced over the last 2 years, 47% growth on the iRead3 test in that building. And we still have 2 attempts left to take that test still this year. So we're really excited about that. That building, one of the other pieces, it's career connected. Every Friday, we are getting elementary school students out into the community to experience industry, nonprofits, government, what those potential careers are for them, which was, the goal of that 3E grant is to expose students at an earlier age to possible careers. I have 1 minute left. So what is next? Our desire is to eliminate our wait lists. We have wait lists. We don't have enough facilities to serve all the students that would like to come to us. So we would like to continue to grow. That was in the application, a 6th charter. We'd like to open a K-8 competency-based building. And so that is the plan that would prepare students with those durable skills and academic proficiencies. This last year, our high school achieved the highest graduation rate in the county at 98.48%, which we're really proud of what the teachers and what the students have done. And with that, I will just say thank you for looking at our application, and I'm hoping that that we will be able to work together. So thank you very much. I ended at 9:56.
Great job. Well done. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. If you'll just stay there, I want to open it up to fellow board members if you have any questions or would like further information. And before we do that, let's acknowledge we've got a couple people who are joining virtually. So let's get them on the record. It looks like board member Jositis has joined us. Hi there.
Hi there. Thank you. Sorry about the technical difficulty, but I'm here now. Thank you.
Wonderful, thanks. Do we have anybody else joining virtually? Nope. Okay, perfect. Well, we've got you counted. Wonderful. Okay, so let me turn it back over to the board members in the room, and then Michael, I'll shift over to you. Any questions for the Career Academy Network?
I have a clarifying question, if you
Sure.
don't mind. My name is Anna. It's a pleasure to
Anna.
meet you, sir. Thanks for your time. I noticed in your Exhibit B that was attached to your application, it lists that the new elementary school is K-5 in a traditional model. You just said, I thought K-8 and it's competency-based.
Yes.
Can we
So
talk about the change or the increase?
sure. Yes.
Okay.
No, it was a change.
Okay,
So as we have been looking at what is most going to benefit the system,
Mhm.
you know, and as we've been having conversations, we are going to apply for, there's the Mind Trust has a cohort where they're going to train principal leaders to be, you know, replicate schools. And so we're going to submit an application for a leader that we have a lot of confidence in, that is currently the instructional coach at our competency-based high school, the Porter School of Leaders. And so as we were working through that application for the Mind Trust, we got talking about, you know, we have Success Academy, you know, a little bit more traditional that feeds into the middle school, the high school. We started this new competency-based high school last year. What if we had a K-8 building that where this new leader is already well-versed and knows the model and wants to perpetuate the things that we're doing at the Porter School? What if we had a K-8 where we wouldn't say students had to go to the Porter School, you know, they could pick any high school that they wanted to, but that's kind of where that evolved, is from that Mind Trust application that we're working on. And the leader that we have, you know, we thought that that made a lot more sense for, you know, that vertical articulation to flow into a competency-based high school.
okay.
For clarification, and those are conversations that we have had. I apologize.
No, that's fine. That's good.
But you're right, it was a change from the original. That I think speaks a little bit to the speed at which
Understand.
yes.
I'm with
So
you.
thank you for
We should
catching
start
that.
with still 400. Do you think with middle school you will have additional numbers?
I think that, you know, with our other new schools that we started last year, you know, and working with Lindsay and Trine, we decided that it was best practice to cohort those models. And so instead of just opening up at the Porter School, for example, we didn't open up, you know, 9 through 12. We started with grades 9 and 10. And so that's our thinking, is that we would look at demand, you know, look at the data. But we're not necessarily just going to open up K-8. We would consider cohorting and building, you know, maybe we start with K-5, year 1, year 2 is K-6, year 3 is K-7. And so I think that number is low. I think we could hit that number in year 1, but it will grow.
Thank you. I appreciate the
You
clarification.
bet. Thank you for your question.
Other questions?
I do, but let me go.
I have a
Go
question.
ahead.
It says that for that sixth starter, you're gonna start in 2027. So if we agree to a 7-year, does that start 2025? Does that start in 2027? When it takes effect?
Okay, other questions? Board member Tomlin?
Thank you, Madam President. I do not have a question for a very specific reason at this time. And that is because Mr. Lugbell and I worked together on his doctoral dissertation. We've been doing that for quite some time, and as a current student, I want you to know that I have followed your leadership closely, and that of the impact that you're making in your community. And it does my heart well to know that we have a board such as this communities such as we do and educators like your team doing fantastic work on behalf of kids. I plan to recuse myself from the vote today because you're a current student of mine. And while I do not believe that this is a conflict of interest under Indiana law, that would be something that would be a much more direct economic relationship that I would have with the circumstance. With respect to the good work of this board and the efforts that you've made in presentation today, I want to make sure that the perception is not that there is any favoritism here. But thank you so much. And we continue to work together and I look forward to that for quite some time.
Thank you, Dr. Donlin.
Thank you, Dr. Donlin. That's an incredible recommendation. We appreciate that endorsement. Board Member Jositis, any comments, questions?
No, I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay, any more questions you want to ask? Okay, I just have one. So
Sure.
with the new diploma types, there are 3 diploma types, as you indicated, going forward. There'll be enlistment, enrollment, employment. Have you sort of mapped out your current graduates against those 3 types to determine the percentage or proportion of students who are sort of lined up for each of those pathways, or do you have plans to do so?
We have, I can't give you numbers
Okay.
today, but our principals have had those meetings where we've looked at, because we'll be an early adopter, is our plan. And so, yes, we have, and I can get those percentages to you if you would like me to.
I'm just curious if you've identified any gaps in the curriculum or areas you might need to shore up in order to prepare the students to obtain any one of those 3 diploma types or even the honor seals that come with each one.
Sure. The enrollment seal, we've been doing that for a long time, right? A large percentage of our students are earning dual credit every year and earning their associate's degree, Indiana College Core. So definitely not any gaps there. I think as a state, we're figuring out, the work-based learning component.
Yeah.
We've been doing that for a long time, but we still don't have it nailed. It's not perfect.
Yeah.
There are challenges and barriers. So I think that, figuring out at scale how, that's going to work, that's something that we're having conversations with and meetings. And so, but it can be done, it can be done. It's just ironing out, some of those details. So, and then I would say too, with enlistment, I think there are some things that we can get better at in that space too.
Okay, fair enough. That's great. Thank you. Turn it back over to you, Board Member Schultz.
I think my question is more for you, if you don't mind. I'm having a hard time wrapping my mind around the middle school piece of this, considering the proposal was for elementary. Is that right?
It was not.
Okay.
Are
so
we talking
tell
about
me
for the new
the
application?
new application?
Got it. Okay.
Yes.
Understanding that they already run and have for a long time a middle school, right?
Mhm.
So they have a middle school and have since 2016.
Yep.
So they have a network of folks who have already shown expertise in running and operating a middle school. So when we had conversations around their feeder model for the new school and it being competency-based leading into their competency-based high school, knowing also that the proposed principal for the middle school, the K-8, I should say, is someone who already has been in a competency-based high school for a year, helping develop that curriculum and make sure it's aligned to the new graduation requirements. I don't have a lot of concern around their capacity. Also, they're going to be applying for the Mind Trust Fellowship to further develop that. So in terms of capacity, I don't have a concern there.
Okay.
I do also think it's worth noting, and one thing I would like to say is that, I've worked with this network of schools now for 10 plus years in my previous role. And I think it's really easy to see, and you got to hear, Board Member Donlin and Jeremy also speak today about just how dynamic their program truly is. But I'm excited for you all to eventually get a chance to see it for yourselves because it really is special. And this is a team of folks who is very collaborative and takes feedback very well. So I don't have a lot of concerns about capacity moving forward.
And can I just add the middle school, we have 2 elementaries, 2 high schools, 1 middle school. And the middle school, year over year, that's where our biggest wait lists are. We need more middle school space. And so that was also a part of, our thinking with the K-8.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions from the board? Okay, hearing none, we can move on. Thank you so much. So at this time, I just want to go on record with how we are basing our decision. So in addition to the comprehensive application that each of the applicants put together, the staff have really done a thorough analysis of each of the applications and have presented thorough recommendations to us. We also have all of the public comment that was submitted both in writing and in person. And we want to thank the members of the public who submitted comment. It was really helpful and illustrative to be able to go through those public comments and hear how the community really feels about the schools. So want to thank everyone for that. So at this point, we have a recommendation from the board for 6 different charters, 5 of which would have 15-year terms, 1 of which would have 7-year terms. I'll defer to the members of the board. We can do all 6 in one vote, or we can vote on them individually and do 6 different votes. I'll take a motion for either. I'm comfortable voting with them together as a block, but want to reserve space if you all would like to vote on them one by one.
Sure. I would move to consolidate.
Okay,
Second.
okay, well then that is what we will do. I'm going to go ahead and do a roll call vote. We are voting to accept the staff recommendations for all 6 of the schools included in the Career Academy network of public schools. So why don't I run through, we'll do a voice vote, and I recognize that Board Member Donellan is recusing himself. So Board Member Schultz.
Yes.
Okay, Board Member Green.
Yes.
I'm also a yes. Board Member Jositis.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Well, with that, congratulations and thank you very much for all of your hard work. Turn it back over to you, Lindsay. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, we are going to move on then to the conversation around charter acquisition request for Circle City Prep and ACE Prep, whereas Circle City Prep acquires ACE Prep. This is a network, technically would become a network of 3 schools representing grades K through 8. They're located in Indianapolis, Indiana. They are founded in the Building Excellent Schools model, and they are currently seeking approval for charter acquisition from ICSB. You'll notice that the recommendation is to approve their request for charter acquisition, and the term would roll over into the existing Circle City Prep charter contract that exists and expires June 30th of 2029.
I'm trying to find the page in the packet with the information. Oh, I see Cold Spring. Maybe it is put in a different order. Can you tell me what page we're looking for? It is.
And it
Oh,
has
got it.
the
Okay.
logo at the top of the page, the charter school board logo.
Okay, got it.
There you
Okay,
go.
Here we go. Okay, great. Any other information you want to share with us?
I think that's it. And I'll let the school come up and give a presentation.
Okay, before you jump, any questions from members of the board for Lindsay? Not at this time? Okay, well, we'll welcome the schools to come on up. And if you would, when you come up, just please introduce yourselves and share what role you play in either of the schools that we're talking about.
Sure. Good afternoon. My name is Megan Murphy. I'm the founder and head of school of Circle City Prep. I'm Amanda Lyles. I proudly serve as the principal of ACE Prep Academy. We are also, before we jump in, joined by a number of members of the ACE Prep board, the Circle City Prep board, as well as staff members. I think it's important to note that they are here. And also, if you ask questions, we'll probably ask them to also speak up potentially if we don't know the answer. So we'll defer to them. I'll let Ms. Lyles kick us off. Thank you. So I stand before you today really hopeful and excited about the future of ACE Prep. We feel really strongly that we have done everything that we need to do as a school to be successful by academic metrics. We've had 2 consecutive years of 14-point increases on iRead, most recently having a passage rate of 90.5% last school year and trending upward this school year. Consistent growth across all subject areas measured in iLearn. High staff retention rates, high levels of scholar retention rate. We've retained over 92% of our scholars from the previous school year coming into this school year, and also grew our enrollment from the end of last year being 110 up to 133 currently. So we feel that we're on a good path, but historically we have struggled to maintain consistent enrollment. We've had huge periods of growth, and then we've had some dips and the resulting inconsistency with funding from that and the allocation that we receive. We just want to make sure that we're taking the steps to be as stable as possible financially, so we can continue to offer the high level of academic rigor that we pride ourselves on. And just overall a strong school culture and excellence in everything that we do every single day. So while we're working with a sense of urgency through this acquisition process, I want everyone here to note that this is not a decision that our school has made that has been a rash one. This has been a result of a process that's over a year of conversations that the ACE Prep board has had, over a year of research that I have done, that the board has done, work that we've done along talking with ICSB staff, but also with other community partners across Indianapolis to make sure that we're taking the right steps forward to ensure the best opportunities for our scholars and their families. We take that commitment to our scholars and our families extremely seriously, and that's why we've moved forward in the way that we have with this acquisition process. Aside from that, I would say we went through a process of looking at 8 to 9 different schools within Indianapolis that we were interested in potentially partnering with over the past year. Over the past 6 months, we were more focused on narrowing down that list and actually having conversations with school leaders, going out doing school visits so we could actually see the school culture in action and see, does it really align with like our school's core values and what it means to be great? Because we really feel that ACE Prep is the place where greatness grows, and we want to continue that and find a partner who we feel like is aligned perfectly with a high level of academic success, but also a very strong school culture. So over that time period, we were able to narrow down our list to 3 kind of finalist schools that we felt were well aligned. And then meeting with Megan Murphy from Circle City Prep starting in December, we just knew right away that the alignment was really strong. Getting a chance to meet with Megan, go to Circle City Prep, meet with staff there, interact with scholars, interact with families, we could really feel that strong alignment and felt that this is not just something that is going to make ACE Prep better, but that through this collaboration that both of our school communities can thrive and grow and be stronger in the future. So with that, I'll hand it over to you.
We just add from the Circle City Prep perspective. Additionally, we're incredibly proud of the growth we've had over the past 8 to 9 years, both in growing our school with enrollment, but also the academic results that we're having. Year over year, we outperform the neighborhood in IPS and iLearn and iRead scores and continually provide a quality option for families on the Far East Side. We have thought as a board for the past couple of years, if we were interested in growing, either adding on an additional middle school or growing out to serve more students, but never really found the right fit and opportunity. When I met with the ACE Prep board and then soon Ms. Lyles, it felt like it was a strong opportunity to fulfill both supporting ACE and making sure that they're able to sustain and stay in Broad Ripple and grow and thrive, and also that Circle City Prep has the opportunity to explore expanding our impact here in Indianapolis. We see this not as a turnaround or anything to that nature, but instead to support ACE to continue to do the great work that they are doing, support them in infrastructure to hit their enrollment targets, and also provide some extracurricular opportunities and clubs that their families have been asking for, but they haven't yet had the infrastructure to be able to provide. We have that at our Circle City Prep campus, and we're excited to expand that to ACE. I'm going to specifically be referencing a one-pager that you hopefully got in an email. If you don't, I can pass it out to you today around the updates to that have happened with us since the application.
We have it. We got it.
I will pass it
Thank
out,
you.
but here's everything else. I mean, I was so prepared. This is my big thing I had to print. Okay. So I think this is kind of a unique opportunity. You both know, everyone knows ACE Prep and everyone knows Circle City Prep as we're both ICSB schools. So I wanted just to provide a line of sight into the past month of work that we have been doing in preparation for this. So first, we have secured legal counsel in both regards and have worked through both a data sharing agreement, which is fully executed, and also a charter transfer agreement and a lease amendment that we are in final stages of executing as well. We also anticipate bringing on 2 current ACE Prep board members to serve on the Circle City Prep board, Max Glenn and Jeff Frank, who will be transitioning in July. I am privileged and so excited to formally announce in many spaces that we're returning Ms. Lyles as the head of school at ACE Prep. It's been an utter privilege being able to work alongside her for the past month or 2 and getting to know her and her leadership. She's most certainly the right person to continue to lead this work. And ACE Prep is better because of her presence in that building. Outside of Ms. Lyles, we've had 10 of 16 current staff members are signed on for this coming year, which is incredibly exciting to provide continuity. In addition to that, because of the growth of the organization, we're able to provide on average $10,000 more in their salary to make sure that this work is sustainable and they're paid at market rate. When we think about community outreach, we've had 3 parent engagement sessions specifically with ACE Prep families to come in and learn a little bit more about what this acquisition process is, to hear from Ms. Lyles about why it's happening, to learn a little bit more about Circle City Prep. And then also we've had ACE Prep families come in and tour Circle City Prep so they can kind of see what we believe in. I think the biggest concern is they really like how small the school is. And we've had some really tough conversation is that it has to grow in order to be sustainable. But we can also continue to have the quality of a family structure, even when the organization grows. And they were able to see that when they come see Circle City Prep, despite us being 3 to 4 times larger, we still have a family tight-knit community, and they can see that in action. We had about 20 participants at those sessions as well. We have reached out to all current community partners and providers so that they're aware of the transition. We've engaged with them as well of thinking about continuity of services next year or transition those to the service providers that Circle City Prep has to make sure that we have that at scale across both organizations. We are currently evaluating proposals for before and after school care, as this is a large tension point for families at ACE Prep to make sure that this is a feasible option despite their working schedules as well. Enrollment wise, 91% of families state that they intend to return. As Ms. Lyles said, this is an alignment to their historical data, so we're not seeing an enrollment decline because of the stated acquisition. We're also excited to bring on Ms. Diamond Barrett, who has been Circle City Prep's Director of Student Enrollment. She will now become the quote unquote network Director of Student Enrollment. She is at ACE Prep 2 to 3 times a week, giving tours out in the community, connecting with families to continue to grow that. We're also bringing on 2 additional part-time staff members to support enrollment as well. We are also in alignment for what we hope that has a positive impact on enrollment is going to be able to provide transportation from ACE Prep to Circle City Prep for 7th and 8th grade families. So right now we have about 26 graders who are currently graduating, but might have a sibling already at the school. You can still bring your sibling to the school, and then we can provide transportation to go to Circle City Prep for 7th and 8th grade. So some continuity for families there as well. So that's been a good pressure point. We've also informed Enroll Indy, as you know, are the primary driver enrollment in Indianapolis. And finally, we have engaged with a rebranding process to both keep the core and the identity of ACE and also the core and the identity of Circle City Prep, but meld us into one version together in the coming years. And that will be a project over the next year, but that work has already started.
Great, thank you very much. You'll just hang out there for one moment. I want to open it up for questions from any members of the board. If you've got questions, feel free to jump in. Yes, please, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President. I do have 2 related questions. They may not seem like it at first, but the first one has to do with the documents were very thorough. And what I'd like to have a clearer understanding of is how do you plan to grow numbers at ACE at that site?
Yeah, I don't know if you should go first, and then I should.
I thought that was implied that that's one of the reasons.
Yes.
It is, but I want to make sure if she talks about what has happened.
So I want to talk a little bit. So our operational capacity at ACE Prep currently is really small because our staff we've made cuts over the past couple of years to, balance budgets. So really streamline staffing. So we just don't have human capital to really.
Could you
go
lean
out.
into the microphone? Sorry.
We don't really have the human capital to go out and do the recruitment work that Megan was talking about with this Director of Recruitment and Enrollment, to just be out in the community interacting, because all of our staff is engaged in academic work throughout the school day, including myself, and we're not going to sacrifice on the high level of what we're doing academically. But at the same time, we need to do the work to market ourselves, get out there in the community so people know, hey, this is a great option. So come enroll with us.
Yeah, I think to build off this and then get beyond even just enrollment, and this is why I added that part in the back of who the team is there are 3 people in this room who knows what it's like to lead a school of just 100 to 130 kids. And the hats that Ms. Lyles has to wear has to be everything. She is the expert of everything. And she was doing everything at a high level, but does not have the capacity to put the effort into what it takes to enrollment. So now she has a team that's actually going to do that. So she can think about instruction. And now she has a team around finance, so she can think about culture in her building. So what we're able to provide is block and tackling for her to do what she does really well, to bring in additional resources to do that as well. So from our experience, from my experience at Circle City Prep, it's a lot of door knocking. It's going literally neighborhood to neighborhood, talking to everybody. And the reality around marketing for schools is you need to have a yard sign, a billboard, you need to have a iHeartRadio ad, you need to have 3 people that are going to reference them when they're out to dinner with the family. And then they'll be like, oh yeah, I have heard of you on the 6th time. And so we need to just infiltrate the market in general. So we have a strategy from every form of media to the personal relationships to the pre-K centers. So our growth model specifically is why we're looking to fill every grade level up. The primary thing is in that kindergarten that we need to have 2 cohorts of kindergarten classrooms. So pre-K will be the primary driver of those as well.
Bet, yeah. That sounds like a plan. So related, I love the fact that you have high retention of staff. I think that's incredible and so good for kids, and necessary to keep. As you've mentioned school culture a couple of times, in my time in higher education, I've been a modest student of school culture. And school cultures exist to solve problems, and they protect the past from the future. They don't like to change. And what you're proposing is that a school culture at ACE is definitely going to change. Mm-hmm. And so what we have found over time is that there are typically persons in an organization who may be resistant to change, but they do it for good reasons. They do it because they care about the folks. They do it because they care about kids. And much of what you've been doing works. And so when leaders listen to those folks who whisper in their ear, oftentimes they'll get some really good advice on what to be cautious about, what to get out in front of as we move ahead. So Amanda, do you have any folks on faculty who have taken that guardian perspective and said, hey, as we move forward, we need to be mindful of this or cautious of this, and they're doing it with good intentions? Would you share what that advice to you might be at this point?
Sure. Well, one of our core values is bravery. And so our staff feel very empowered to share their opinion, even if they know that I might disagree with it. So we've also been really good about being completely transparent with our staff through like this entire year of work that we've been doing the research. So we've been including them in those conversations, seeking out their viewpoints like the whole way through. And so it wasn't a surprise to anyone. So I think that helps us. It has been helpful to get feedback from staff. But what I love about Megan in Circle City Prep is like she's been really receptive to that. So we've talked as granular as some of our policies and how do we make sure that we're in alignment, and, you know, them being willing to make changes on their side too, to say, oh, actually this we can learn from you as well. Making a commitment to, yeah, we're not coming in, Circle City Prep's not coming and saying like, we're changing all the curriculum next year, right? Like we have a plan for like what adjustments we're making, and then opportunity to learn from each other. Like, hey, we're doing this really well. Maybe they're going to, you know, take some of that from us. And so when we come together as a network and align, it's not just, okay, Circle City says you're doing this because we say you do it. It's a collaborative process. So we've been mindful about including our staff members in all of these conversations. I think the biggest fear a lot of staff have expressed is just wanting to really protect our school culture because it is so strong. But the good thing about this is it's really rooted in our core values, and Circle City Prep, they are also rooted in similar core values because of how they were founded and the foundation that both schools are built on. So while we might have different acronyms, we do have the same shared values. The cultures feel very similar. Our staff have all had an opportunity to go over to Circle City Prep as part of the interview process to do observations. Like, they've been very welcoming and transparent. So staff have been able to go over and ask questions, talk to other staff without like Ms. Murphy or someone else, without myself present. And I think that's been a really good thing because they've been able to see kind of just where there are things that we have in common and like where are the areas that we are going to have to work and be mindful and communicate so we can grow together and make sure that we're all moving in the right direction for the success of everyone's students.
That's really cool. Thanks.
Other questions?
I have one. Megan, I noticed that the IRE and iLearn scores went down from 2023 to 2024. Are you looking to borrow some things from the other group, or can you speak to, is that going to be a trend?
It will not be a trend. Thank you for asking that question. Yeah, last year most certainly was one of our hardest years academically. Frankly, we were understaffed. We had just some of the staffing issues that we can pinpoint the actual grade levels in which those scores slipped. Without breaking that the data is not public yet, we can tell you we did not do that this year, and we are heading in the right direction again. So when those iLearn results will come this year, you'll see them be jumping back up, as well as the iRead results. As it relates to borrowing, stealing, working in cahoots with ACE around academics, Amanda referenced this and you saw that in the application. We are so long-term in the next 3 years, we look to have the same curriculum across both schools, right? That allows us economy of scales, compare data. We can do professional development across both schools. We need to have some synergy going on there. But we did not want to do that immediately. One, because we thought that would be really jarring to people who were staying to have brand new curriculum across the board. And two, there's opportunities that we see some excellence that are happening over here that we want to learn from before we make some final decisions around that. So this coming year, ACE and Circle City Prep will have the same math curriculum. Our math results have been strong. They continue to be strong, and they'll be very strong on iLearn this year. And we're really proud of that. We're also working with a national consultant to come in specifically with ACE on the adoption of our math curriculum. We will not be doing that for our reading curriculum, specifically as the iRead results that Amanda expressed, as well as the work of CKLA. So I'm excited to be very closely working with her to better understand and bring our instructional leader from Circle City Prep over to ACE throughout the course of the year to see, is this actually a transition? Do we want to move from our curriculum to this one? Or are there best practices that we actually want to integrate to our model over the next 2 to 3 years? I think that answers your question. But
Hi, I joined a little bit late because the technology was in my way. So excuse me, but I did hear all of your presentation and I did just look over your paperwork submission. So most of the children who attend your schools are African-American by far. And I'm wondering, are you staffed up for that so that the kids have folks that look like them in the classroom, at least to some extent?
At Circle City Prep right now, we're over 50 to 60% staff of color in our organization. I will say one gap that we have at our Circle City Prep campus is Spanish speaking and Haitian Creole speaking staff members. It's something that we know is a gap, and we're continuing to recruit and fulfill that need. We are about 60 to 70% staffed at ACE Prep, and I don't know that number off the top of my head. I think that is still something that we are looking to grow in. We want to diversify the staff at ACE, and is a priority for Amanda and I in our hiring.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just acknowledging that our board member Violet Hawkins has joined for the record. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Violet. Other questions from any other members of the board?
So I have a clarifying question, and I don't know who maybe it's best addressed to, but I noticed on ICSB's website, as part of your documents that you submitted, there was an enrollment plan. And the enrollment plan was only 25, 26, and 26, 27 for ACE Prep. So I guess one question that I had was, why just 2 years, and didn't we plan out further? But the enrollment numbers were flat from year to year with no growth expected. Both models that you mapped out were 30 students per grade level for a total of 210 students next school year and 210 students the following. So I hear you talk a lot about growth and expansion, and what I saw didn't necessarily target
I
that.
can't, without looking at it, I would say that's an error. If that's what that says, that is not what's an actual depiction of it. So next year we're looking at 175, specifically have 50 kids in kindergarten, then 25 at every grade level. We'll then slow growth model up that second cohort. So then the following year would be 50 kids at K, 50 kids at first, so on and so forth. Long-term, we are exploring, and probably will explore, moving 6th grade off of ACE Prep's campus for twofold. One, to have a K-5 experience in elementary level, and second, because the space at ACE right now would not accommodate for 2 sections of 7 grade levels. So that should be worked through. And then I can't speak to why we only did 2 years, but you can extrapolate what the year 3, year 4.
I just wanted to ensure that there was an account.
Yeah, that would make
growth.
sense. We're here to grow enrollment, so we should ask about enrollment. Yeah, 100%.
Great. Any final questions? Okay, thank you.
I want to open the package for public comments. The public comment attached to their package was for, I think, and I'm probably doing it wrong, but I think it was for the previous applicant from South Bend. And
Uh,
so,
Violet, all of the
Uh-huh.
comments were consolidated into one document. So if you scroll down in that document, you'll find public comments for each of the schools and applications we're looking
okay.
at. Are you seeing it there?
No,
I'm gonna jump in, Lindsay.
Sure, I'll pull it up. Give me 1 second.
Is there a page number she could scroll to? Do you have page numbers on that document? I'm not sure if it's here.
okay, I got you now. I got it. Give me one
Okay.
sec. I got it.
Great.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, I'm there. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are contemplating, or what the staff is recommending is a new charter that would combine these two entities into one. The charter would take effect on July 1st, 2025, and would run through June 30th, 2029, which aligns with the existing amount of time that is on Circle City Prep's existing charter. So essentially what the staff is recommending, is that we replace the existing charter with the new one, but we are not extending the amount of time or life of that charter. Anyone have questions for Lindsay or questions about what we're being asked to approve? Okay, hearing none, I would accept a motion to accept the staff recommendations.
Before you make a motion, can I just say, I would just like to quickly say, I really want to just make sure that the team gets to hear this, but we just really, in going through the review process, appreciated the thoughtfulness of both of these teams and their commitment to doing what they believe is best for kids. And I think that was evident throughout their application as well as interviews, et cetera. So just wanted to make sure that was really clear.
Great, thank you so much for that. Okay. I would open the floor for any motions.
So move.
Okay, a second?
I second.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to do a roll call vote. We are voting to accept the staff recommendations for Circle City Prep. I will start with Board Member Jositis.
Yes.
Do you want, Board Member Green, would you like to announce?
I will recruit myself.
Okay. Board member, I'm sorry, I said Green. Board Member Schultz is recusing herself. She is the founder of ACE Prep, and I'm sure many of the high quality elements of the school have her fingerprints on them. So we will skip over and I will go to Board Member Green.
Yes.
Great. Board Member Donlin.
Yes.
I am also a yes. Board Member Hawkins.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much to both schools. Appreciate all the work that you did, and thank you to the many who submitted public comments. We will move on to the Cold Spring School and turn it back over to Lindsay. Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, so we're going to talk now about Cold Spring School at Marian University. This is a K-8 school located in Indianapolis, Indiana, and they are a current innovation network school through IPS. They have a focus on STEM education, and they are seeking to become their own LEA by adding a charter. So they do intend to maintain their innovation network agreement, but just would like to add that new charter to as well. Our recommendation at this time is to approve this application for a term of 15 years.
Great. Questions for Lindsay or the staff? Okay, we will invite representatives of Cold Spring School to come up. Please just introduce yourself and share your role at the school. Thank you.
First off, yes, thank you, everyone. My name is Cody Stipes. I have the privilege of being the Chief Operating Officer for Cold Spring School. Before I begin, I just want to state, again, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for accepting our application and being able to be here today. I also wanted to say it's been a privilege being able to get to know Bridget and Bea through this process, and excited to work with Lindsay if this goes through. So just again, their professionalism and the way they've worked through it has really been great to see, and encourages me about what this partnership could look like. So I just want to state that first before we get going. Again, Cody Stipes at Cold Spring School. We are a K-8 STEM and environmental science school, as you saw on the campus of Marian University. Get going into my part now. And so we have been fortunate. We started as an innovation school back in 2016. One of the first school actually to go through the innovation process by choice with Indianapolis Public Schools. At that time, that's when Cold Spring School Inc. was formed, our nonprofit 501c3 organization that has an independent board of directors. We sit on 39 acres of at the campus there at Marian University. We have woods, streams. We have 2 pygmy goats and a couple chickens as well that are big parts of our Cold Spring family. And so we get to do a lot of great things outside in the environment, which is a great opportunity for students, especially in an urban setting, to be able to go fish, go mountain bike riding, to do those types of things that we get to have the privilege of being able to do on a 39-acre campus is quite special, as well as the things that we get to do with STEM and in that process there. As you see, and you saw in our application, one of the things I wanted to highlight specifically is the academic growth that we've seen as an organization here. And so you saw this in our application, but I wanted to highlight it again because I think it's really valuable to see. So in iRead 3 last year, we had a 20.5 percentage point increase in our iRead mastery from the 22-23 to the 23-24 school year. The state average increase was only 0.6 percentage points during that time. We were very fortunate to be a part of the literacy cadre with the state of Indiana with our work with Marian University as well. We had the 6th highest growth for all of the literacy cadre schools in the state of Indiana on iRead last year, and looked very encouraged with the results that we're seeing preliminary with this year's results. When we think about iLearn Math and iLearn ELA, again, since the 2020-2021 school year, Cold Spring has seen some great increases in mastery there. In math, we've had an 18.6 percentage point increase. The state average has increased by only 1.3% over that same time frame. And then for ELA, we've seen a 19 percentage point increase in our mastery, where the state average has actually decreased by 0.2 percentage points over that same time. So again, we think and we know we're on the right track. We're not satisfied with where we are yet. I think the only acceptable percentage when we're thinking about mastery is 100%, but we are making some great gains and have some great people doing that work here. What I really wanted to highlight, this was not included in our original application because we did not have this data yet until just recently, and I hope it got passed along, but I wanted to highlight it here. What you're seeing on the screen here now is all of the IPS academic framework for the last year iLearn results here. This is showing all the ones with the 1 asterisk with it there are all the schools in the entire IPS portfolio of schools. So the direct managed schools that IPS has, as well as the charter innovation partners that work with IPS. I believe it's about 60 schools that are in that portfolio with that. If you see our ELA percentage, our proficiency percentile, was 80th percentile last year for all the schools in the portfolio. For math, it was 78th percentile. When you look at our increase in proficiency, we were in the 96th percentile for all those schools in ELA, 98th percentile for math. And then when you look at the ELA and the math median growth percentile, or the MPGs for that, those are just for the IPS direct managed schools and a few of us that are currently in LEA innovation schools. And those we saw the 97th percentile for ELA growth and 87th percentile for math. And then I think the other thing that I like to point out too is this right here. One of the core beliefs that we have, if you saw on our beliefs document, is that we believe with high academic and behavioral expectations, all students can and will be successful. I think that's something that we say a lot, but what are the actions or what are the results that you actually get that show all students are achieving? What you're seeing here now on this screen here is a breakdown by subgroups, 10 subgroups. ELA, math, the same subgroups there, and their percentile for growth across the board with all of the IPS direct managed schools and the current NLEA innovation schools. Those 13 blue cells that you see there are all in the 90th percentile or higher for achievement. The green ones, again, are in the 60th percentile or higher. 3 of those are 80th percentile, or 4, 80th percentile or higher. So when we think about breaking it down by race, ethnicity, special education, general education, ESL speakers, non-EL speaker, ELL speakers, paid lunch, free and reduced lunch, across the board here, we're seeing all students showing growth and achievement there. And so again, we have work to do and we want to continue to grow that, but we're seeing some really promising results as well that we're very excited about in what we're seeing at Cold Spring. In addition to that, we've seen some great growth in terms of our enrollment over the time period. This is my 7th year at the school. I've been very blessed and fortunate to be able to be there. The year before I arrived, we started that school year with 283 kids, K-6. Next year, we're projecting to have 408 kids, K-8. That's a 44.2% increase in an 8-year time span. Our demand from the school has also skyrocketed over that same time period. We have seen a 61% increase in the number of families who rank us in there as a choice in the Indy lottery system since that 2016-17 school year. And the number of families who have picked us as their number one choice has went up 300% in that same time frame. So we're seeing a lot of families that want to be a part of what we're doing at Cold Spring, and we have maximized our building and then some. And so we're excited about what this could mean as well as a charter school and charter organization, about what it could look like for growth for us to be able to expand a little bit and have a little breathing space as well. But the last thing that I would state as well is the financial piece for this and where it comes from. Obviously, you saw that in our application. That's a big piece of this as well. We've had a really great relationship with IPS. We continue to have a strong partnership with them. As an NLEA school, though, the resources that we get pass through the district. We have been really good financial stewards of that. And I would just again point out that is because of the great due diligence that we've had in our board, strong board involvement, wise financial stewardship, as well as our work with Brian Anderson. Been fantastic to work with in that regard. We've got a healthy financial, reserves, as you probably saw in our application. But on a yearly basis, we have about a $50,000 surplus currently as an NLEA innovation school. Now, $50,000 is a lot of money, but when you think about an average teacher salary, that's not even covering one full-time position right now. And so we really are limited in what we can do and provide outside of what we're currently doing for kids. But our families have expressed desires to continue to grow. What can it look like to make sure that our kids are having access to the same equitable opportunities that their more affluent peers across the city and across the state have access to? And so that really got us thinking, okay, what if we could expand the amount we have financially to be able to provide more programs for our students and our families? How could we do that by also, though, keeping in control what we have right now in a very healthy way, be able to do that? And so that really led us to thinking about what would it look like to become a charter organization. And what we found out is actually basically everything we do right now, we function as a charter organization, have our own separate board, everything's in place with that. There'd be really no direct impact to the day-to-day operations of our school and what we're doing. It's just going to allow us to have more resources to be able to provide more for our students and our families that way. Obviously, the addition of special education ESL would come under our umbrella instead of the current arrangement where those are provided by IPS. But even with all of those additional costs and those people coming on board, we're looking at having right now about a $50,000 surplus. If we didn't change our enrollment at all, that number would triple to about 150. But what's really exciting is for us to then grow to scale where we want to be about 432 kids, as you saw in our application. That's going to give us about $460,000 more today than we do right now as an NLEA innovation school. With that type of financial resources, we can really invest with our students, continue to give them more STEM opportunities, access to foreign language as well. All those things that their most affluent peers in the entire state have access to. We want to be able to make sure they have access to that here at Cold Spring. And so that's really important to us. And finally, as I wrap up here, again, our kids are just doing great things. Since our application has been submitted, we competed at the 2025 Indiana State VEX Robotics Tournament. At that tournament, all 7 of our teams qualified for the state tournament, and we had 5 teams move on to the World Championships, which is next week in Dallas. We're excited for that. In elementary and middle school in the entire state, there were 30 teams that qualified for Worlds from Indiana. We had 5 of those 30 teams right here at Cold Spring. And so continue to be very proud of them and the work that they are doing. They're the reason why we're getting such great results there along with our staff. So with that, we're excited about this opportunity, and I'd love to take any questions that you'd have at this time.
Great. Thank you very much. I first will open it up to my colleagues in the room. Any questions from the board members here present?
Can you speak to percentage of special needs children currently at school?
Yeah, 15%, I believe, is the number right in that area. And that's been consistent over the 7 years that I've been with the school. And we don't see any reason why that would change.
Great. Thanks. Other questions?
Yes, Madam President. Have you accounted for the every once in a while catastrophic hit to the budget that would come with special education costs?
Yeah.
Who have you talked to that is whispering in your ear telling you the truth about that?
That's a great question. Yes. And that's one of the things we've been very upfront with our families. In fact, through this process, we've had 5 town hall meetings with all of our current families, as well as a virtual session that we've had. And we've been very upfront where there are a lot of pros. There are also some things right now in our current relationship that are nice. Why, as right there with what you're saying, right? IPS is the current provider of those special education services and that.
And
What-
$150,000 is a sliver compared to what you could incur in a cost.
Yes, and that's why I think it's important. That's just number if we stayed where we're at today, not even with growth. With us getting up to that 432 number, we're looking at 460,000 plus in additional revenue that we would have to reinvest back into the program, even with the increased cost that would come with special education staff being under our umbrella, those types of things. And so, one of the things I would point to is, first off, in my 7 years that we've been at the school, we have not had a single incident that went towards even a mediation in that regard too. So I think that's a testament to when you do what's best for kids, tend to have good results and come in that way. Again, we've got a great team that we're hoping and I think will stay with us. So we're hoping to continue that, but you're right. There are times where that could come up. I think what I also point out too is the healthy financial reserves that we have accumulated over the years here. We currently have over $2.5 million in the bank right now. For a school our size, we feel really good about that. And again, just want to continue to be able to do good things for kids. So I think that's where I don't have as much of a reserve or a reservation about that, because of, again, the place we're in there financially. We've also talked, again, working with Brian Anderson, who has, both NLEA innovation schools, charter innovation schools, standalone charter innovation schools, feel comfortable where that's at. I've also had some conversations already with some different providers for special education services like SpedAx and other ones, just to be able to get a good lay of the land of what that looks like. Because we know that is going to be the biggest shift with where we're currently at is that special education piece, but we feel very confident in our ability to handle and manage that.
Great, thank you.
I have one.
Yes.
Can you talk to us a little bit about like board governance, the shift in roles and responsibilities that your board is going to have to go through as they change entities? What does that look like?
That's a great thing, great question. And I think what I would again go back to is, because our board has been in place since 2016, we've got really good practices and procedures in place. In fact, some of the things right now they're asking about are things that are going to be added on to our plate now that haven't been our responsibility per se, I guess, in that way, but are the things we're already thinking about and looking at. Again, special education, what does compliance look like with that facility? What does that look like? All those types of things. And so in a lot of ways, they're already doing some of those pieces. Some of the things that I've already, though, in terms of preparing for that, talked with some great partners as well to say, hey, what does it look like, or what professional development can we provide for our board as we make that transition and what that looks like? And so I think we have some really good plans in place to help with that as well. But again, feeling confident about where that's at, but know that it will be a shift and acknowledge that. But I think, again, our track record shows that we'll be able to manage that.
Thank you.
Hi. I
Yes.
do have a question. I don't really understand the chart fully. I do get that it's about growth, where you are as far as growth in the overall scheme of things. So high levels of growth. This part on the left where it says Black 87th and general education 97th. Can you explain that? The rest are straightforward to me, but that one I don't get.
You said Black African American?
Yeah, it says on the left-hand side of the chart, it says Black 87th and then general education 97th.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. So the first table on top is looking at is ELA growth proficiency in all of the IPS schools that are in LEA. So our African-American students, our Black students, were performing in the 87th percentile for growth across all of the schools within the IPS family and direct managed part. For general education, we were in the 97th percentile for growth for all schools in IPS. When you look at then for math, African-American 80th percentile, general education 82nd, Hispanic 95th. So it's looking at our students' performance by subgroup compared to all of the other schools within the portfolio. Does that help understand that?
That's helpful. And then you do have a significant portion of your population that are people of color. And I'm wondering if you guys are mindful of the need for them to see their own folks in the classroom.
Yes.
And what are you doing in that way?
Yes, no, that's a great point. Something we've been looking at for many, many years. And so, when I started back in 2017, I think that percentage was around 5%, 10% of our staff. And we think about that too. Listen, this is a little bit of a personal thing. Both my parents were head custodians at elementary schools. They're a part of our staff, right? They're part of our school community. When I think about this question though, specifically, I really want to think about who are the kids that they are seeing and working with academically. Okay. And so when I think about, when we look at just our academic focused staff and staff there, thinking about teachers, instructional assistants, school counselors, administration, those types of things, that numbers went from, I think I said like around 7-8% my first year whenever I was at the school. This year we've had close to 30%, 35% of our staff represented in minority culture across the board there. Again, not where we want to be. We'd love to see that increase to match that, but we've actually seen a really great reduction there in terms of the gap between our student population and our staff population during that time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? I just have one question.
Yes.
Can you outline, you breezed over it a bit, but I'd love to just sort of zoom in on the practical implications that having a charter will have on your relationship with IPS or that innovation agreement, particularly the facility or lease costs, services provided by IPS. I'd just love to really understand the implications.
Yeah, great question. And, really from where we've been very upfront with IPS about our process with this and going through this application and this process here. Currently, as it is currently written, there's not a lot that's actually changing in our current innovation agreement. Really, the two main differences are special education ESL services would become a part of our responsibility as Cold Spring School, Inc., and the financial applications would change. So right now, we are funded from IPS through their SBA allocation model. Now, this money would pass through. Technically, it would go to the district first, but then pass through directly to the state like it would with any other charter organization. And so we'd be getting that full pass through for state tuition dollars through the district there in that regard. And so that really has a big financial impact. It goes from about $3 million right now currently that we receive through the SBA NLEA model to up above $5 million as we get that money through the state and all the additional pieces that come with that. The other big thing that's been helpful with this, and one of the things we've been very, again, upfront with IPS about, and everyone that we've talked to about too, is there are currently not many grant opportunities that are available to us. Most grant opportunities are usually available to an LEA. Since we are in LEA with IPS, we're not eligible to receive those funds that way. Classic example right now is the Lilly money that Lilly has done for Marion County. We were not eligible for any of those funds because we're not a separate LEA. And so not only will we get increased money, coming in from the state and all the different places that come there, we're also going to be able to do our own grant outreach and apply for grants that way to hopefully, again, continue to do great things for kids.
Okay, thank you. Any final questions? Okay, hearing none. Thank you very much for your time. We'll welcome Lindsay back up. Questions for Lindsay or any of the staff? Yes, please.
Lindsay, did the staff consider a 7-year versus a 15?
We did talk through that because it's technically a new charter, but this isn't a brand new startup school. And for that reason, we felt like 15 was appropriate.
Okay. So to be clear, the staff are recommending a 15-year charter for Cold Spring School. Would open the floor for motions to accept staff recommendations.
And I would just say quickly that I think in our review process, it was very evident, and you got to see today just a glimpse of it. But this group truly is committed to academic excellence and very passionate about the work that they are doing. And so hence the recommendation for 15 years.
Thank you, Lindsay. I'll accept either a motion to accept staff recommendations or open the floor for other motions if you would like to present some.
I'll move to accept the staff recommendation.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, we will do a roll call vote. We are voting to accept the staff recommendation of a 15-year charter term for Cold Spring School. I'll start with Board Member Hawkins.
Yes.
Okay, Board Member Jositis.
Yes.
Board Member Schultz.
Yes.
Board Member Green.
No.
Board Member Donlin.
Yes.
I'm also a yes. So with that, well, thank you very much for your time. And we will turn it back over to Lindsay to discuss the Indiana Micro School Collaborative.
All right, thank you. So we are on our last application for today in reference to the Indiana Micro School Collaborative. This is a K-12 school proposal located for their initial launch in Charlottesville, Indiana, which is a part of Eastern Hancock Schools. They would eventually be expanding statewide in the years following. This school is a micro school model focused on personalized learning and competency-based learning. And they are currently seeking charter approval for us for the 25-26 school year to begin their launch year. And you can see as a part of the packet that the recommendation is to approve for a term of 7 years. And again, just a reiteration that that 7-year approval is because they're a new startup school.
Okay, thank you very much. Questions for Lindsay or the staff? Okay, hearing none, we will turn it over to representatives from the school. Please come on up, introduce yourself, and share your role in the proposed school. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. My name is George Philhauer. I'm the superintendent at Eastern Hancock Schools and also the proud founder. I don't know that I have a job title yet of what we're talking about today. I will echo what everybody said about just the awesome experience of working with the team. I'm probably the newest member of the room in terms of charter experience. And it's been a delightful experience and I'm really grateful to be here today. So I couldn't be more excited to talk to you about Indiana Micro School Collaborative. Everything for us starts with the vision, just that we envision a school where a future where every Hoosier kid wakes up excited to go to a school that feels like it was perfectly designed for them because it was. So we're thinking, there it goes, sorry. There are several problems that we think that need addressed in Indiana. The first is that there's certainly a growing demand for school choice and change within school. There's a growing number of homeschool families that are opting out of the option that's their default option in their community, and they're defaulting to homeschool because that is the only other option they have. We also know that there are fewer and fewer teachers available all the time, and turnover rates in most schools are incredibly high. And those parents and teachers are asking for something different, and I'm excited to maybe provide that for them. There's a lack of choice throughout Indiana. We heard from some great charter options that are available in metropolitan areas. And outside of that, in rural Indiana, there are not very many choice options. I also believe that there are some barriers to the innovators and the entrepreneurs who are looking to change the education space. You know, most of the entrepreneurship in the space of education is in the ed tech world. And I'm excited about the idea of cultivating a system where people who are excited about building schools that kids would be excited to go to can have the ability to do that, and a mechanism for getting a school started. So micro schools is a national movement. It's something that's happening all over the country as educators look to innovate and families look to find a new option. They're built on the idea of personalized learning, transparent, community-driven schools, and purpose-driven environments where kids are embedded into the work that's happening within the general community. The challenge, though, is that most of the time, nearly all the time, those choices are private, which limits some options for some kids. So what we are proposing is a publicly funded option for this to be available. Another challenge with micro schools is that most educators who want to start a school don't have the experience to help with things like business and HR and payroll, and they don't have the capacity to do that. And if they start to do it in an extremely micro level, those expenses are very, very high. So we feel like we can bridge that gap. So what we think is a better way forward is public micro schools that are connected to a statewide network that we are calling the Indiana Micro School Collaborative. And we're thinking that those schools could operate independently, but never feel alone. We believe that there's lots of power in having a statewide network of like-minded individuals who are interested in starting a new school in their community. With that network comes scale for things like purchases and things that would be incredibly hard for a micro school founder to accomplish on their own. I'm superintendent at Eastern Hancock. I don't know how many times a public school superintendent has stood at this mic and asked to start a new charter school, especially like the one we're getting ready to start. And I'm pretty passionate about the idea of creating schools that kids want to be at. Where I get to serve every day at Eastern Hancock, we have 4 promises that drive our strategic plan. And promise number 1 is joy. And it's just the idea that we need to be really intentional. If you just watch the news, the gravity of the work we're doing is not pulling us towards a place of joy. And schools should be places that people look forward to coming to. And I don't know that I have enough heartbeats left to do that at the scale that I want to do it, just doing it from within. So I'm really interested in the idea of doing it both within and without. I also am very interested in figuring out how to break down some barriers between the school choice conversations that are happening in Indiana. And I think we could serve as a model for collaboration that might be possible when we weed through the narrative of whatever we're reading in the news and just start thinking about what might be best for kids. So we've been really intentional about creating collaborative structures, but also maintaining separation. So for us, that allows us to be supportive on things like HR and compliance and logistics and those types of things. But at the same time, keep separation. We've got Eastern Hancock has a longstanding relationship with Churchill and Antrim, and we're working with Barnes and Thornburg for Indiana Micro School Collaborative to ensure that separation remains the same. And also we've got plans in place to have new instances and to keep our financial systems and student information systems separate. We also have put together a pretty impressive board. I'm incredibly new to the charter space and can't do this by myself. Kim and Scott are here with us, and I wouldn't be here right now without their help. And then on the national landscape, Tom Vanderark has agreed to join our board, and Tom's got a pretty extensive background in all things school innovation. So we're excited to have him on our team. In Indiana, David Becker is also on our board. And David's a serial entrepreneur and has lots of experience in starting new things that end up working really well. And then 2 of my school board members are also serving on this board. I'm blessed, and some of my colleagues aren't as lucky as I am to have a very supportive board, and I'm extremely excited about this. We could expand up to 15 board members. In terms of education model, we've talked about we want it to be a relationship rich, mastery based program, where real world learning is happening every day. And, as Lindsay said, we would like to start with 2-3 schools around the Eastern Hancock area before we take steps to launch beyond that. Because my board's made up of a bunch of entrepreneurial-minded people, I know typically year 0 or year 1 is no kids and you do some planning, but this is so unique. We really feel like we need to get directionally correct. Start with some interested families who we've already engaged in conversations and make corrections and if we really believe that if we're remaining in close contact with families and engaging in consistent communication with families, that as we build and grow and learn, that it makes more sense to have that first year be as soon as possible instead of waiting until a year and then still having that first year. So we're really excited to get going. I think me being a public school superintendent gives us some unique opportunities to break down some of those barriers. So I intend to talk to a lot of my colleagues around the state about what some type of partnership could look like. A lot of my colleagues are losing students to homeschool, and those homeschool families just frankly don't have any other choice besides the big school or their own school. There's school founders all over the place that are I believe eager to start a new school. So those would also be people that we would love to partner with. There are networks of homeschool families that I had no idea even existed until about 1.5 years ago. And then community organizations that I think would be really thrilled to work or design a school that was specifically designed to meet the needs within their learning organization. So appreciate your time and really excited about Indiana Micro School Collaborative.
Great, thank you so much. Let's open it up for questions from the board. I'll start with fellow board members who are in the room. Any questions for the applicant? Go ahead, please.
Thanks, Madam President. Dr. Phil Hauer, I was having a conversation prior to this meeting, and your name came up because as I drive Indiana and follow around my superintendent interns with their field placements, I hear stories of your leadership and the impact that you make on your community. And it's pretty impressive. I think of the word altruism when I think of this particular passion that you have with this, incredible looking board that you've put together. Just to get pragmatic for a second, if you're going to start 2 to 3 sites around Eastern Hancock, are you going to be losing any money
It's likely, we.
as a school district?
Yeah, so Eastern Hancock's 40% school choice right now. 40% of our kids drive. You've driven past our school on Interstate 70. If you've driven past us, you probably also know you can see us from that interstate, but you can't get to us from that interstate because we are on 2 dead-end county roads. So 40% of our families are already driving to us in the middle of nowhere. And so those families are looking for school choice options. So it's possible that some of those families would make that choice. And I think if you believe in school choice, then you believe in the underlining ideal that my job as superintendent and as the person who's leading the Indiana Microschool Collaborative is to build spaces that people are wanting to be at. And I believe that it would be a mistake to look at it with a deficit mindset, that I think that there needs to be plenty of choices for everybody who wants to make a choice.
Okay, the question I won't ask you is, are you going to allow them to start on your basketball team? So don't answer.
Yeah.
You might have to confer with.
How tall are they, Dr. Donlin?
So if we were to bring in handfuls of LEA superintendents, district superintendents, and select the 5 or 10 that are the most senior skeptic of this idea, and you were to forecast yourself in the future, 1.5 to 2 years from now, and reflect back on the Eastern Hancock experience with these 2 to 3, what 2 to 3 points would you make to that group that you believe are going to happen that made it worthwhile for you as a local district superintendent to support this altruistic endeavor?
Yeah, I think it sounds like what you're asking me is it's likely that those people are not interested or
Senior
skeptical.
skeptics.
Yeah. So I think people don't often change their mind when you look at data or, maybe even logical decisions, but I think they do when you can tell them stories. And I think if we can design schools where every kid feels like that school is designed for themselves, in 2 to 3 years, we're going to have some pretty incredible stories about kids who didn't feel like they wanted to go to school and now they do, or educators who didn't enjoy their job and now they do. So I would say that I would do my best to tell those stories and put those people in positions where they can tell them themselves. And I'm sometimes not good at some things, but I'm pretty loud and pretty good at telling about the good things that are happening in the world of education, because I think the world needs more of that, because I think you don't have to try too hard to see the negative stories that are happening. So I would lead with those stories.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Other questions?
I would be remiss, I think, if I didn't just offer an early congratulations before the vote on the ability to take the term charter and really own it and define it in a way that it is core it's supposed to be. So as the newest one, in your words, in the room with charter experience, like you're now one at the club, regardless of what happens. So welcome to the team.
Thank you.
You have a phenomenal board. Like I'm looking at Kim and Scott over the podium and Tom and like a huge, right? So I read your application with this sense of somebody that has walked in your shoes, trying to be really grounded in the practicalities of what this looks like, regardless if we launch in 4 months or a year in 4 months. And the one thing that really struck me that I would appreciate you helping me visualize, maybe that's the way to say it, is your enrollment projection is not steady Eddie. Kim's smiling at me because she knows. Your enrollment projection is like mountain,
Yeah.
right? So I've not had a track record as Circle City Prep and Ace Prep saw today. I could be quoting this incorrectly, right? But what I saw was year one, you're looking at 7 or 8 students per grade level for about 100 total. Year two, you're 6 timesing your population to 600 students with 47-ish per grade level. And then every year after that, you're adding 1,000 to almost 2,000 students a year. And so as I think about the scope of building out these sites, right, and the locations and the planning and the strategy, can you help me kind of be a fly on the wall as you guys are sitting around thinking big, right? Which I think this is, and kind of grounding us in the realities of what does this look like reasonably as you grow?
Yeah, I guess I should first of all start by saying Kim talked me out of 30,000. But I think, I don't know, it's my answer is very similar to my answer to Dr. Donlin. I think when people start talking about a very positive school experience, then that word spreads very quickly. When I look at just, I had no idea until a year and a half ago how many families were choosing homeschool, because there's just this undercurrent of dissatisfaction with the options that are available. And I think that number is bigger than I ever thought. And so I really feel like if we can find a structure of launch and support for founders and a leadership structure for people who may have never led before and they're being put in, leading a 50-kid school, then the opportunity for growth is only as limited as our ability to continue to support those leaders as they grow. If we're going from Charlottesville, Indiana, which you can drive past and if you blink, you miss it. And I can find that many people who I think might be interested and I might be wrong, then as I imagine what might be available and interested across the state, I think it's a really big number. And as I've talked to Scott and Kim and Tom and all the people who know way more about this type of thing than I do, it feels like that number is there, that there are that many people that are looking to start a school, and because there are that many people in those communities who are interested in joining a school. And obviously there's lots of logistical things with finding space for them and those kind of things. But, I'm hopeful that we can take the next 12 months to figure out how to jump through those hoops. We're nose deep into it now, trying to learn as much as we can. But once we figure out what those systems look like, I think that, the market will be there. And I'm anticipating that we will have interest coming to us.
I don't disagree with you.
How about members on the participating virtually? Any questions from either of you?
No.
Okay. I just want to commend you first. This is incredibly innovative. And I was floored first that this came from a traditional public school superintendent. I wasn't so shocked once I saw the members on your board of directors who are known for their innovation. I just want to say in my professional lens, I have a kind of a bird's eye view of what's happening in the country, and micro schools are growing rapidly, but primarily through private school choice, through things like education savings account. This is the first charter sort of structure that I've seen. And so I think this is incredibly creative and really has the potential to be a model for the country. So I just want to commend you on this because it's incredibly innovative. Former authorizer though, I want to understand how you're thinking about autonomy. So if I am operating a micro school in my home with 5 students, how much autonomy will I have over my curriculum? How do you think about liability for the adults in my home, for the structural or physical safety of my home? As a public school, these are things, that you'll be responsible for. Can you just walk me through how you think about liability and the trade-off for autonomy?
Yeah, I think the best things in the world are the ones where you're finding that tension, right? Of polar opposites. And I think this is certainly one of them. I think in terms of autonomy and accountability, that defining some outcomes that we're looking at tracking. It's very similar to what I do when I look at classrooms at Eastern Hancock, that, we're really intentional about the things that we want our kids to be learning. And we're really intentional about what that looks like when a kid shows us that they're learning. But our people in our classrooms have lots of autonomy. I think what is a little bit different about this is that I can't walk across the road and see it. I think the getting started process is really, really important as we vet potential micro school founders and we vet potential locations where these micro schools are going to be located. That we, that hopefully that mitigates some risk with liability. And then I think the autonomy also, the combination of screening, maybe not the best word, but really being intentional about which micro school founders are allowed to open a Indiana micro school collaborative site, and also providing the autonomy so that they have the flexibility to design a school that the kids that they want to enroll feel like they belong, that some of those potential litigation and those type of things should be minimized.
Yeah.
But it's complicated, and I don't think it's any more complicated than it is in my classrooms at Eastern Hancock. It's just a little more out of sight because I'm not right there all the time. So maybe there's more of a felt safety at Eastern Hancock, and it's not a real safety where if there's a site somewhere where I can't see it every day, that safety is probably about the same.
That's great. Thank you. Well, I think this is really innovative, as I said, and I would just say, be prepared for your phone to start ringing because people are going to want to learn about this, I think, and we'll really be watching.
Awesome.
It's exciting stuff.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from members of the board? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll ask Lindsay to come back up. So the staff have recommended a 7-year new charter to the Indiana Micro School Collaborative. Do we have any questions or comments for the staff or for Lindsay? Okay, hearing none, I would open the floor for a motion to accept the staff recommendation.
Really quickly, may I speak?
Sure.
Thank you,
course.
Beth. I'm sorry. I want to say a few things first and foremost. So a long time ago, I'm going to give more of a narrative than I have with the other applicants, and I apologize, but I want to just be really clear. A long time ago, I was sitting at a conference, and Dr. Jenner was the keynote speaker. This was years and years ago, long before I'm sure Dr. Philhauer was even considering this idea, or at least he hadn't vocalized it yet. And she was the keynote speaker, and the question that was asked of her was, who is doing something in the state that's super innovative and gets you really excited, talking about in the traditional public school world? And Dr. Philhauer's name came up, and I had never even met him before, had not heard his name, didn't know anything about Eastern Hancock schools at that time. And it stuck with me. It was something I remembered. So when he called me at Education One and said he had this really cool, innovative idea for a potential charter school, it was something I was really excited about. And the reason I was most excited about it is because this is truly the spirit of the charter movement. It's rooted in finding an innovative way to solve a need or meet a need in a community. And that's what he's doing, right? And you heard him speak about that today. And then the last thing I'll say is, Dr. Donlin, you were speaking about this earlier, but we talked a little bit about ACE Prep when they were presenting about the fact that their school is rooted in this idea of bravery, or founded in this idea of bravery. And in hearing Dr. Philhauer stand up here before you today and present his idea, and also before his Eastern Hancock board, right? And going back to his small community, that is exactly what he is doing. He's working to found a school that's truly rooted in bravery and joy, which you heard him speak on today, with intentionality around this idea of excellence and innovation. And that's why I'm really excited about it. So when I moved to ICSB, and I received a phone call from him that he also wanted to consider applying to ICSB as opposed to Education One, I was thrilled. I was really excited. And I hope you can understand why. So one of the things I do want to say quickly before you vote is that much of the work, you heard him speak on it today, still needs to be ironed out, right? I just want to make sure that you understand that we do have a process at ICSB as an authorizer for building in those safeguards, right? So part of the process after approval, they'll go into pre-opening, right? Where they'll continue to iron out a lot of the details that are still in progress. And then there's also a strong process in place for monitoring and oversight after they would open. So just wanted to give you that assurance that even though not all of the details have been worked out, there is a process in place for how they will be done and done well.
Great, that's wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so we'll open up the floor. Do I have a motion to accept the staff recommendations?
So move.
Great, and a second?
Second.
Excellent, thank you. All right, we will do a voice roll call. Board Member Hawkins.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Board Member Jositis.
Yes.
Board Member Schultz.
Yes.
Okay, Board Member Green.
Abstain.
I'm sorry.
Abstain from vote.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Board Member Donlin.
Yes.
And I am also a yes. So thank you and congratulate Indiana Micro School Collaborative. Okay. I want to, before we adjourn, I noticed that we have a save the date on our seats. So why don't I turn it over to you, Lindsay, and the staff to share updates about this event and any other updates you have.
Perfect. We do have a few updates that I wanted to share today. First and foremost, I'll address the save the date because you mentioned it. Yes, that is for the 2025 Indiana Charter School Board Conference. That will be attended by charter school leaders from all of our schools across the state. And we would love it if you could join us. It's on June 11th from 9 to 3 p.m. and Geo Academies is hosting that on our behalf, which we are super grateful for. This would be a great opportunity for you as board members to connect with school leaders and just be able to hear what they're doing in their schools and share something with them as well. So we would love it if you could join us. Please mark your calendars. The next thing I want to just quickly put on your radar, not anything that we're going to be voting on today, but just wanted to make sure you were aware. Obviously, the new Indiana budget has been released, and traditionally, ICSB has had an appropriation in the state budget that is no longer there. So it has been eliminated from the state budget. Wanted to make sure you were aware of that if you had not already heard that. We are currently working with our staff and financial folks to make sure that we have a strong plan in place that we can present to you at your December meeting, which will require a vote. Obviously, we are likely going to be increasing the administrative fee for schools. We're looking at doing that in a nominal way that won't have a major impact on schools. And that wouldn't take effect likely until a year from now. So we would like to give our schools lots of runway and opportunity to be aware of what that looks like, but currently still in the process of working through that. And then finally, just wanted to make you aware again that we are in the process of going through rebranding with the Indiana Charter School Board. We've been working with some folks on a new logo design and getting a logo that looks like something fresh and innovative and is really representative of the direction that we are trying to move our organization in. So just wanted to share that with you as well. And some new ideas will be put in front of you shortly.
Great. I have one request of the team, Lindsay. At our last board meeting in March, several board members recommended that it might be a good idea for us because we have a few new members on the board, because we have some new members of the team, that it might be good to do sort of a half-day board retreat. Could I request that the staff spend some time thinking about that and maybe come back to us as a board with some ideas of dates, agenda, et cetera, so that we could put that on the books and officially schedule that?
Absolutely. We would love that.
Thank you very much. Okay, any other comments or questions from members of the board? All right, well, then with that, I would take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
And as you know, I have to do a vocal roll call to adjourn. So we're going to do that person by person. Board Member Hawkins.
Yes.
Okay, Board Member Jositis.
Yes.
Board Member Schultz.
Yes.
Board Member Green.
Yes.
Board Member Donlin.
Yes.
And I too am a yes. So thank you. With that, we are adjourned. Thanks to everybody who attended and spoke today and all the good work.
Thank you all.